So once again, today is our Wheel and Anchor Liveaway to Koh Samui, Thailand pre-trip webinar. So the intention behind this webinar is to give you some bits and pieces of information that you might need, and more importantly, give you the opportunity to ask questions about Thailand, about Koh Samui, the trip, how everything's going to go. And so we are going to talk about, first of all, I'm going to introduce your host, Amber. Some of you know Amber from many of our trips. Amber and I are going to go through a little bit of the pre-trip preparation. So what you need to know, what you should pack, what you should bring, a little bit about your arrival in Thailand. We're going to touch on the itinerary. We're not going to go through it in great detail. We're just going to touch on a few things just so that you think about any other things that you may want to bring or things that you may want to do while you're here in Thailand. And then we're going to have a Q&A session at the end. So that is the plan today. We have two hosts for Koh Samui. So for the first 4 weeks, from the 15th of January to the February 9th, we have the wonderful Amber Riedel. And then for the second, for the third 2-week block, we have another one of our hosts, Michelle El-Guzabal, who is an amazing host, hosted with us last year in the spring. So those are our two hosts. Amber, do you want to say a few things about yourself? Michelle is not able to join us with us. She is based out of Austria and had prior commitments today. Sends her regrets. Is very much looking forward to all of those members joining us for the third Koh Samui Liveaway week.
Yeah, absolutely. So hi, everybody. My name's Amber, and I have the privilege of hosting the Koh Samui 1 and part of 2, and then passing everybody on to Michelle, who will continue hosting for the rest of the trip. So I've hosted a number of Wheel and Anchor trips. I was one of Gordon's first hosts after Gordon hosting trips. So I've done this a couple of times. And I am semi-retired, so I sold my businesses about 2 years ago, and this is my failed retirement, is hosting trips with Wheel and Anchor. So it's a good retirement failure, I would say. It's a good failure story.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, so I am really looking forward to being with you. I do love Thailand. I've traveled all around the world, a number of countries, 50 plus countries. I've soloed, I've backpacked, I've group traveled, I've traveled with Gordon, I've, done off the beaten path, 5-star. It's like, I just love travel and being away and adventure and curiosity. And so it really is a privilege to be able to be with you guys on, this lovely liveaway. So one of the things that I just first want to say, so that you know what to expect from me as a host, is what is a host? Because one of the things that I think sets Wheel and Anchor's trips apart is the fact that we do have a Wheel and Anchor host on every one of our trips. So let me start by saying what I'm not. So I am not a tour guide. I am not an expert in Thailand, in Koh Samui, in Asia, in really any other country. I'm not a guide. We have travel partners who are experts in those things. I'm not that. I'm not a concierge. So I am not there to, source Arabian elephants for a party in 2 hours and make those things happen. So I'm not a person that's there to cater to whims and needs. What I am is I'm a problem solver. So as a host, my job is to sweat the small stuff in the tour so that you're freed up not to have to sweat the small stuff. Your job is to give yourself over to the adventure, be happy and enjoy. My job is to cross T's, dot I's, and make sure that our travel partners are doing all of the things that we expect so that our trip is as seamless as possible. I basically am just taking friction points and rubbing off the edges for you wherever I can. So if there's something that's getting in the way of your enjoyment, I'm the person that you come to, and we problem solve together to figure out a way around it. If hiccups happen, I'm the one that makes sure we pivot and we have plans in place and that everything becomes a travel adventure under my guise. So that's basically, what I get to do. And this time I'm going to be doing it with you guys in Thailand. So Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, thank you for hosting again, Amber. It's always a pleasure to have you on our trips. Our members love the way that you lead the trips because, Amber's like that person. If you've traveled with friends before, somebody's always sort of taking the lead and just basically making sure that that the agenda that is planned is delivered and that everybody has a great time. So Amber's that person, and that's what all of our hosts do. That's the role of all of our hosts, and I can thankfully say they all do it in spades. So yeah, thanks for sharing about that, and you'll have a blast with Amber. So on that note, let's get into the second part, which is pre-trip preparation, because at this point you probably start to be thinking, what do I pack? What do I bring to Thailand? What do I need to know? We'll start off as we always do with this, just to cover off passport and documents. As I always say, just make sure you know where that passport is. Don't move it. If you keep it in the same place, and double check the expiry date, just to make sure that it is still valid for at least 6 months beyond the return trip. We've probably looked at that before, but it's always a good idea to check the documents yourself, because ultimately that's your responsibility to make sure that you have what you need to get to where you're going. For Thailand, for most people on this liveaway, you're going to be staying for 2 or 4 weeks. So less than 30 days. If you are staying, for example, the full 4 weeks, and then you're doing our pre-tour in Chiang Mai and Bangkok, you're going to be staying for longer than 30 days. So for everybody else, if you're there for just 2 weeks or 4 weeks and you're less than 30 days, you don't need to do anything. You could just show up in Thailand, because we have there's no visa requirement up to 30 days. If you're staying longer than 30 days, though, there is a visa requirement. It's pretty easy process. It is in the pre-trip information document that you will have been forwarded about a week ago or so. By the way, most of what we're going to talk about is in that document. So this may be, for those of you who've read it thoroughly, it may be a little redundant, but we just want to make sure that you're ready to go. So if you're staying longer than 30 days, go to the link that's in the pre-trip information document, to the Thailand e-visa page, and get that done. I recommend you do that right now if you haven't done it already, just because I know that I'm coming back to Thailand in January, and I applied for mine about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's still not come through. So it's a good idea to get it done a month before, so that you've got it. So that's about the only thing. You don't really need any other documents. Obviously, we are out of the well, we're not out of COVID per se, but we're out of the COVID bureaucratic madness. So there's no documentation you need for that. I do suggest that you either take a picture on your phone or print out a copy of your passport, your e-ticket, your visa if you need one, and if you've applied for one, and prescriptions, anything else. It's always a good idea to have that stuff either in a hard copy format or just a copy of it. So that's the only other thing I would say in terms of documents that you really require, other than what we're going to talk about next. So let's talk about packing. And I can tell you, because I'm in Thailand now, it's warm and it's always warm. So the first thing that I want to say is less is more. You don't need much. You can show up to Thailand literally with a day pack full of stuff, because you need swimwear, you need shorts, a shirt, t-shirts, and you need some flip-flops. And that's kind of how I spend my life when I live in Thailand, is with that. You don't need a lot of stuff. You don't need anything warm, save for in the evening. If you're like on a sunset cruise later in the evening or whatever, the temperature might drop to like 22, which sounds balmy by Canadian standards in December. So that's about as cool as it's going to get. I will qualify for those going to Chiang Mai. Chiang Mai is in the north of Thailand. It is the coolest time of the year. It will be a little bit cooler. When I say a little bit cooler, on a really cold day, it might hit 10 degrees, but that would be unusual. It's probably likely to be more like 15, 16, but it's going to be cooler than here in the south in Koh Samui. So if you're going to Chiang Mai, you might want to have just that extra light layer, but I emphasize light because during the day it will be warm for sure. It's warm in Thailand. you can, the other thing I want to say before we sort of get into the nitty gritty is you can buy everything in Thailand that you can buy at home. I say everything. I can't really think of much that you cannot get in Thailand that you can't get at home. We are staying in the heart of Koh Samui in the so-called area around Chaweng. You're about an 8-minute walk to the biggest mall that has all kinds of shops, and there's markets. And so in terms of clothes, in fact, what a lot of people like to do is buy the cool Thai stuff from the markets. I get most of my summer attire here in Thailand because it's very good value. It's good, decent quality. And it's neat because it's interesting and it's unique. So you could literally buy everything you need here in Thailand. So that way you can pack lightly. And I say pack lightly because although your overseas flight will likely allow you 1 23-kilogram bag, in Thailand, the domestic flights are restricted to 20 kilograms. It's always weird with the airline world and all their different weight limits. But Bangkok Airways, who you will be flying between Bangkok and Koh Samui, only allows 20 kilograms. And they're kind of strict. So
they're really strict.
Yeah, they really are strict. So you just want to keep that 20. Honestly, how much do you really need to bring? About 10. And then you can take the other 10-kilogram home worth of souvenirs. You just don't need a lot of stuff.
Yeah. The other thing we should add, Gordon, if anyone's like me, I do not check luggage. So I, go on 1 month, 2-month trips with only carry-on. In Thailand, though, the carry-on has a weight limit of 7 kilograms.
Correct.
And so I arrive and always begrudgingly have to check my carry-on luggage. So just be prepared for that if you're flying straight into Bangkok and then flying down to Koh Samui. Be prepared psychologically, like I have to when I'm handing over my bag, because I never check luggage. So it's a little offensive to me and hard to take.
Okay, very good point on that. Just so
Yes.
you're aware of the luggage allowance on
Yeah.
that domestic flight. In terms of stuff to bring, as I mentioned at the outset, it's summer. So we're staying at a beautiful spot on the beach. So you need shorts, swimwear, flip-flops. So the only other things I want to just mention, so other than the normal beachwear flip-flop stuff that we don't need to go through in great detail, for those that are participating on any visits to temples, whether you're going to Chiang Mai or here in Koh Samui to the temples, you do need to, for particularly for women, cover your shoulders and knees. So you need to avoid shorts. Men as well, actually, you need to avoid. So you need to have a light pair of whatever, slacks or yoga pants or anything that covers the knees and covers the shoulders. So that's important. I also suggest that you bring, and again, you can pick them up here in Thailand, but you bring easily removable shoes. When you enter people's homes, when you enter even some shops, when you enter even some restaurants, in Thailand, it's customary to remove your shoes and to go barefoot. That is normal. So honestly, when I come to Thailand, I put on flip-flops and I don't see any other footwear the entire time that I'm here. It's the only footwear you need. I will qualify that again. If you're going on a hike, if you're going on one of our hikes, maybe not a bad idea to have closed-toed shoes or sandals, just because, stubbing your toes or whatever the case may be. So that's my only other recommendation. And water shoes are super handy for the marine excursions. Although it's mostly sand beaches, there is coral around. And so I literally wore them this morning as I was, walking in a riverbed. It's a good idea to have water shoes. Sun protection, again, you can buy it all here, but we all have our favorite brands from back home. Hat, sunglasses with good UV protection, sunscreen. Those are the things that we want to sort of emphasize are important for Thailand. I see a question here about, do you need closed-toed shoes for the temples? No, temples you have to go barefoot. So you have to remove your shoes at the entrance to any temple. Yeah, Amber just clarified that as well. Amber, is there anything else we need to mention about what to pack? It's casual. I'll say that again.
It's super. Thank you. You always miss the what shoes? Do you need fancy shoes? And women, do you need fancy dress up? You always miss this. So it's super casual. Even if you're going to, I dined at the Four Seasons the last time that I was in Koh Samui, and I wore a sundress. It's super, super casual, and sandals. So you don't need, fancy heels unless, if that floats your boat and you want a pair of fancy heels, you have at it. The thing is, a lot of restaurants are beach access, and the terrain tends to be uneven. I would leave your heels at home and just forego. The only other caveat I would say about shoes is it's surprising the humidity. So once your shoes get wet, your
Yeah.
shoes tend to be wet. So the last time I was in Koh Samui, I had Tevas, like sports sandals. They got wet the day that I arrived, and they were wet the day that I left. So like an EVA sandal is amazing. You can pick them up at the markets for $5 or $6, the Birkenstock knockoffs that are EVA. These will be your best friends. And I suggest you just pick it up when you arrive because you'll live in those.
That is words of wisdom right there.
Yeah.
Let's move on and talk about, oops, I think, where did it go? Oh, we missed there's a slide missing from my presentation. Isn't that terrible? A few other things to remember about stuff to bring along. So travel adapters. So actually, Thailand is a bit weird because they use both the North American and the European plugs. In most places, it's like the dual plug. So your North American plugs will work just fine. If you have a European travel adapter, just in case you happen to find that one place, but generally speaking, your plugs will be fine. The voltage in Thailand is 230. So it is at home, it's 110. So most stuff is not going to have a problem with that. Any of your electronics, they're all dual voltage. The only thing is some hair dryers or hair straighteners, and even some hearing aid chargers, maybe 110 volts. So if you have anything other than your camera charger and your phone charger, and if you have anything other than that that is a bit unusual, double check the label and find out just double check. It should say like 110 to 230 is what most things say on it, meaning it accepts all voltages. If it doesn't, you'll need to get a voltage adapter, one that actually changes the voltage from 110 to 230. But that shouldn't, sorry, from 230 to 110, I mean. But that, again, that's a bit of a unusual case. You may want to bring a little battery operated fan. It's warm. It's warm and it's humid. So if you're somebody that finds yourself that you really get hot, you can buy one at the dollar store. You can get these little battery operated fans. You can find one here at the market too if you really find that you're in a pinch. But that's kind of neat. Please do remember to put your medications, particularly anything that's prescription, into your hand luggage to keep it close to you. You don't want to lose it. We have pharmacies everywhere here. So while you can get stuff, getting the prescription filled for the thing that you have that you got from home is not always so easy. So you just don't want to lose that stuff, and keep a copy of your prescription again as well. Again, I just stick that stuff on the phone. That way it's handy to get. Then mobile phone, and we'll talk a little bit about Telegram in a minute. Please do bring your mobile phone. We're going to give you a SIM card, and it's just so much handier to be in communication with the group, to find yourself around using Google Maps. It's just super handy. So please do bring a phone. It's really necessary for the to make the most out of your trip. Ziploc bags are my sort of thing that I take everywhere, because Ziploc bags, you can put anything that you don't want to get wet. It's the dry season, or the dry season begins in the beginning of January. Although, last year we did have a bit of a storm pass through at the end of January, so you never know.
Yeah.
Or if you're out in a boat on a long tail trip, or you're around water or whatever, it's just always a good idea to put stuff that you don't want to get wet, your wallet, your phone, your whatever, in a Ziploc bag. You can also get fancy waterproof bags and all the rest of that stuff. I find Ziplocs do the trick for just about everything. So I think they're my secret little thing. If you're somebody that uses a CPAP machine, Amber, I don't recall from the list that there is anybody, but if there is, you may want to bring an extension cord. Again, we can get these things here, but just because of where the plug is in the room relative to where the device has to be, just that kind of thing. Think ahead. If you have a question about that, drop us a note about any.
Yeah, and the rooms are sprawling, so they are
It's true.
they are generous sized rooms. So it could be that the plug is is a ways from the bed.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, they are quite generous sized rooms. I think that's about it, about other things to remember. I don't think there's anything else on here. Do you think of anything?
I
Nope.
think that's it.
All
Nope.
right, move on. So let's talk about currency for a moment, and the Wise card. So the currency in Thailand is the baht, BAHT, 25 baht to a Canadian dollar, which always seems confusing at the beginning, but it's actually not that bad. You just divide everything by 4 to get to dollars. So that's kind of how it works. Sorry, you divide everything not by 4, by 25, I should say, obviously, because it's 25 to 1. But there's there's some math that you can use to do that, or use a currency app like xe.com is the one that I use, which just helps you. So when you see something is 840 baht and you're like, oh my God, that sounds like so much money. But in reality, it's only like, $35. As far as getting Thai baht when you get there, ATMs are everywhere. They're more prolific than they are at home. ATM fees in Thailand are on the high side, though. So regardless of what you use, whether you use a Wise card that I'll talk to you about in a second, or whether you use your bank card or a debit card or any card, they're going to charge you somewhere between 180 and 250 Thai baht, which is about $7 to $10 per withdrawal. So it's a little on the pricey side. You can't get around it. But so what I recommend is that you take out money, you get a larger sum, put it in the little safe deposit box in your room. That way you're not sort of paying the fee every time. But on top of that, your bank at home, credit card companies at home will charge another arm and a leg for the conversion fees, which is why we recommend Wise on all of our trips. It is a prepaid debit card, which says Visa on it. Although the one in the picture doesn't say Visa, but it is like a Visa card. So you use it like a credit card, and it enables you fee-free withdrawals. And when I say fee-free, if you use a debit card from Canada and you use it at a bank machine in Thailand, your bank in Canada is going to charge you another $5 on top of what the Thailand bank machine charges. Well, this would waive that for the first $350 in withdrawals. And for me, the biggest reason is they give you the best exchange rate. So they're about 1 point off of the so-called median rate, whereas most credit cards or debit cards in Canada are at least 3 to 5% off the median rate. So for smaller purchases, it doesn't make a big deal. For bigger purchases, it adds up. So we recommend Wise. You can find the link in there. Our members that use it absolutely adore it, because you can put like 50 currencies in there. You can switch between one and another in an instant. It's really, really easy. So go and take a look at that.
The other thing that's nice about the Wise card is it feels a little more secure. So you're not using your debit card from home that has access to all of your accounts, so that if something happened to your debit card, somebody could access your accounts. With Wise, it's like you can pile on $500 and that's all there's access to on the Wise card. So it feels a little more secure, and you can easily e-transfer from your main bank account into Wise, and it takes like 5 minutes to transfer money. Like, it's so easy and so much easier. Somebody has a question about, can you tap with a Wise card? You can tap. Wise card works both as a app on your phone in Apple Wallet, as well as you can tap the card itself.
Yeah. Exactly. And so wherever you can use your credit card, you can use Wise tapping it. Now, that being said, in Thailand, at the markets, they don't accept credit cards. So if you're at a outdoor market, they don't accept credit cards. Even at 7-Eleven, and 7-Elevens are as ubiquitous as Starbucks at home, more so, they're everywhere. They also don't take that unless it's over a certain threshold. So you will need some cash, but I mean, we're talking about, you might need a couple of $100 at the most for the whole time that you're there. Yeah. For the most part, if you're going dining out at nicer restaurants, like Western style restaurants, they'll take credit cards. Things you want to buy in stores, in retail outlets, they'll take credit cards. So you'll need some cash, but not tons.
Yeah. Oftentimes in Thailand, if you're paying cash, even if they take credit card, you can get discounts if you pay in cash. So cash is king that way. What I don't suggest you do is buy Thai baht in Canada.
No.
So the rate that you will pay is astronomical. So last year someone did it and it was hundreds more than just using the bank machine. Likewise, I don't suggest using the money exchange where you bring US dollars or Canadian dollars and do the exchange, because that also will cost you more. You're better to use your credit card or use your debit card in a bank machine and just withdraw when you're in country.
Yeah, most definitely. Most
Yeah.
definitely. Let's go on to talk about Telegram for a second. Maybe Amber, I'll let you talk about Telegram since you've been using it a lot of late.
Yeah, absolutely. So Telegram is an app that you'll be downloading onto your phone, and it works like WhatsApp in that it's a messaging system. So this is the primary and I would say sole communication that we use on Wheel and Anchor trips to communicate from me as the host to you as the guest. And we set it up so that guests can also message each other inside of it. There's a couple of reasons why we use Telegram and we don't use something else. One is we like the idea that you can set up Telegram. It's quite user-friendly once you've set it up. And then while you're on the trip, you can use it. You can share your contact information in Telegram or not with people on the trip. So we like the privacy side of things versus WhatsApp. Once people kind of put you into a WhatsApp group, you're in the endless loop of being in WhatsApp groups. So with Telegram, there's a little more security. And if you choose not to use Telegram after the trip, you can shut it down and just be done with it. But what Telegram does is it creates a broadcast system that I can get information out to the guests really quickly. So if we have updates, if something's been canceled or times have changed, or we have an impromptu view of dolphins on the beach, I can tell you really quickly, get to the beach, there's dolphins, and I can broadcast out a message to you that goes to all of the guests. Telegram is also used for security. So there is a way that if you happen to get lost, you could actually send me your location and we can use it to find you, and vice versa. If you can't figure out where I am, I can send you my location and we can find each other. It is super, super handy, and it has people feel really confident being on the trip. And it makes it that it's easy for you to access information. If you have a question for me, you don't have to wander around the resort yelling my name. You can send me a message. I can send you a message back. It's super, super easy. The nice thing about Telegram as well is when you change out your SIM card, Telegram stays the same. So you set it up before you go on the trip. We are set up as contacts before you go on the trip. You'll be added to a channel so that you're getting information about the trip. And when you change your SIM card, it stays exactly the same. So it continues to work and it works unchanged. But there are a couple of things about it. You do need to set it up before the trip. So it's super important that you download it and you complete the setup of your account, because it requires using whatever your Canadian SIM number is that you put in to confirm that that's the right SIM number. If you half set it up, show up to Thailand, take out your SIM card, you're not going to be able to set it up. So the thing that you need to do is you just need to muscle through setting up Telegram. If you have, it's actually quite user-friendly. We've sent you exact step-by-step setup instructions that if you're having any trouble, find a 15-year-old or 12-year-old or a 10-year-old on the street, and they will be able to help you do it in just a few minutes, because they're just smarter than we are this way around technology. And reach out to me. So my information is in the Telegram setup instructions. You put my name in, you reach out and say hi, tell me which Koh Samui, week you're on, and I'll get you set up into the proper channels so that you and I have access to each other, so that if something happens when you're en route and you get to Frankfurt and your flight's canceled, you can actually reach out to me and let me know and communicate this information. I can walk through, confirming that your transfers have been rescheduled, these kinds of things. So it's actually super, super useful and really important that you take the time to set it up before a trip, because it will have your trip be that much more extraordinary having access to this as a tool.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself. Let's move on. Let's talk about health protocols. Just going to touch on this real briefly. There's really only two things I wanted to mention. First of all, smoking. Our trips are non-smoking because the vast majority of our members are non-smokers. All that means is it doesn't mean you can't have a smoke while you're on holiday on the trip, but we ask that during Wheel and Anchor sanctioned events, excursions at meals or whatever, please just don't smoke around the group. Go to somewhere else if you don't mind, please. That's important. So that's really all I'm going to say about that. The only other thing I want to say is we still live in the shadow of COVID and all the rest of it, and God knows what other communicable diseases might come along. If you become ill or have symptoms at any point during the trip, two things. First of all, let Amber know by telegram. And second of all, we kindly ask you, particularly if you're coughing, sneezing, anything like that, even if it's just an allergy or it's just a dust from the whatever, if you are having symptoms, please wear a mask. Bring a mask with you. You can also buy them in Thailand. Obviously they cost nothing. In fact, we'll probably have some masks around just for the benefit of the other guests on the trip. Because you know how it is. You feel uncomfortable when somebody in your midst is, hacking up a lung and is not wearing a mask, and you don't know what's wrong with them. You just want to not have that issue. So that's the only thing that we ask for the benefit of other members. Wear a mask if you're not feeling well. All right, let's talk about arrival in Thailand. So you are flying over, and you're probably invariably flying to Bangkok, whether you're joining the pre-trip in Chiang Mai or whether you're continuing right on to Koh Samui. Regardless of that, first of all, be mindful of your luggage weight in context of what we said before about the domestic flight being limited to 20 kilograms. Prior to arrival, we suggest that you take jet lag mitigation measures. We suggest, Amber highly recommends timeshifter.com, right? You want to say something about that? You love that app.
I love this app. I'm somebody that suffers from jet lag terribly. And I arrived back from Vietnam Sunday morning at 1 a.m. And I slept through the night, 8 hours last night, start to finish. And just by doing some simple circadian rhythm transition in this app, it has really cut down the effects of jet lag. And so been able to fully participate as soon as my feet hit the ground to countries. And so I can't suggest it higher and with higher or mightier, stamp of approval.
Exactly. So take that into account. But prior to leaving or at any point during your travels, if you become aware of a delay, and I don't mean a delay like, oh, you're going to be 10 minutes late into Bangkok, but if your flight to your connecting city, whether it's Taipei or whether it's Tokyo or or Seoul or wherever you're flying via to get to Bangkok, is late such that you're going to miss the connecting flight. If you're going to miss the connecting flight, then please, it's really important that you send us an email. Also telegram Amber. That's as important, if not more important, than emailing delays@wheelandanchor.ca. It just ensures that the team is aware that there's a problem, that you're not going to be on the flight to Bangkok that you were that you were supposed to be on. If you're on the flight and the flight's late, well, that's no problem, because our transfer partners obviously monitor the flight time. So if the flight's an hour late, they'll know the flight's an hour late and that you're on it. If you're not on it, that we don't know. So that you have to tell us. So that's really, really important. Have a comfortable flight. It's a long flight over here. There's no other way to put it. It's a long damn flight. So be comfortable. It's not a fashion show. I'm like yoga pants and whatever, and something warm for the chilly air at night. Be comfortable and hydrate well. So on these super long flights is where I actually drink less wine than on the shorter flights, because if you get really dried out, you're just going to feel like crap when you arrive. So that's important. When you arrive in Thailand, if you're connecting through to Chiang Mai or to Koh Samui. If you're arriving into Bangkok, regardless, you will meet, and it's very important here that you read the instructions on the pre-trip information document, particularly because in Koh Samui in particular, it's a little bit odd because you come to the arrival area that looks like the arrival area, but it's not really the arrival area. There's a sign that says meeting point, and you have to walk down. It's all outdoors. It's a beautiful airport. It's one of the most beautiful airports in the world because it's all outside and there's flowers and gardens. It's very pretty, but you got to keep following that along until it says meeting point. And there's even the first area where they're picking people up. That's still not the place. You got to keep going. So follow those instructions, and you won't have a problem. And our transfer person will be there to greet you, and they will have a sign with the Wheel and Anchor logo and or your name. So look for either your name, the Wheel and Anchor logo, and you will find the person. If you don't find them right away, particularly if you're like flying into Bangkok and looking for them, Bangkok is a busy airport. So is Chiang Mai. In Koh Samui, you won't have a problem. It's small, but Chiang Mai and Bangkok are pretty big. Just sift through the crowds because you'll see hundreds of people with signs and names and all the rest of it. So just take a deep breath. The person will be there. You will be fine. You have phone numbers. You have a phone number for Amber. In some cases, you have a phone number for me. You have a phone number for the local transfer company. You'll be fine. We will get you sorted out. Yeah.
And so if you're needing to make a phone call, you can go to the service desks if you don't have the ability to make a phone call using your phone. Go to one of the service desks and show them the number, and they can make those phone calls. You can also reach out to Gordon in Bangkok by telegram, or you can reach out to me in Koh Samui. I'll be arriving by January 11th, I think, or 12th, something like that. So I'll be there and can help guide you towards where you're missing your pickup person.
Is Wi-Fi in the airport in Bangkok?
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit complicated. They don't make it.
Yeah, it is.
It's because they've got like 4 different channels, and you kind of have to play with a little bit. It does work. It's just unfortunately not super straightforward. That's the only thing we'll say.
Go to the service desks. They're actually great at making phone calls on your behalf.
Yeah. They're super helpful. Okay, great. So just a quick geography lesson. We're gonna wrap this up soon and take any more questions that you may have. So this is the map of Samui, Koh Samui, in case you didn't remember it already, down here in the Gulf of Thailand, in the southernmost part of Thailand. And Chiang Mai is way up here in the north, and Bangkok, of course, on the northern shore of the Gulf of Thailand here. So the island of Koh Samui, it's actually a pretty decent sized island. If you were to drive, circumnavigate it, it would take probably a solid hour to an hour and 15 minutes, depending on traffic. We are staying right here on Chaweng Beach. So this beach here on the east coast of the island is one of the longest on the island, one of the most beautiful beaches. There's lots of hotels and resorts. It's a great location. There's retail and shops, and the mall is there, and everything under the sun is there. It's a great location. We're very excited about it. It's 10 minutes, barely 10 minutes from the airport. And then our excursions will take us to all kinds of different places around the island. So we'll give you more orientation about that, obviously, when you arrive, but I just wanted to give you the overview one more time. Mention a couple of the notes. Obviously, here's the dates for Koh Samui. So you're either on 1, 2, or 3, or some combination of those. And we're going to be doing a bunch of different things. You've already selected your excursions. You've already confirmed your excursions. We don't change excursions at this point. They are set in stone. I mean, emergencies aside, that's what you talk to Amber for, but the excursions, because we have chartered boats and cars and all the rest of it to be able to make things happen. So hopefully you picked Ang Thong Marine Park. It is spectacular archipelago of islands, one of our favorite activities. We're also going to be going to a smaller island just south of to visit the pigs on Pig Island, which is always good for a lot of laughs. And there's actually some nice snorkeling here and a lot of pigs. Koh Tao is one of the best diving spots in Thailand. In fact, on this little beach here, which is on Koh Nang Yuan, you can snorkel right off the beach, and they have what I consider the best coral garden in Thailand, which doesn't have the best coral gardens left in the world anymore, but here is a spectacular one. So this is also an all-day trip by speedboat. We're going to take a little trip out of the harbor of Samui by catamaran. to see the sunset, because of course we're on the east side of the island and the sunset's in the west. So we're going to take you out so you can at least see the sunset. But there are some other places to see the sunset on a hill not far from Chaweng. So where Amber will be briefed on all of that when you arrive. Of course, Thai cuisine is so well known, and it's actually remarkably easy to cook, and you can actually get most of the ingredients in home in Canada. So why not take a culinary course and learn a little bit about how to make all these delicious dishes. There's also an adventure to my home here, the island of Koh Phangan, which is directly across from Koh Samui, from the North Shore of Koh Samui, that is. So this is another great all-day adventure that's going to take in some beaches on this, my beloved home, and this wonderful island. You can't really go to Thailand and not take in a little bit of the culture, specifically Buddhism and the temples. So we've combined this excursion this year, where you'll have an opportunity not just to see the temples, but to have a bit of an interview with one of the monks. And these guys are terrific. They're incredible human beings. They're always very keen to talk and share a little bit about their story of what life is like as a monk in Thailand. So it's really cool. So that's another good one. Another one that you can actually book locally, if you didn't already indicate interest on it, is to go golfing. Thailand has Koh Samui has a professional, whatever rated, PGA rated championship golf course with some great views looking out over the thing. So you can always go golfing if you'd like. We organized it last minute last year for some members that wanted to go. They have a 9-hole thing as well. So if you just wanted to go and hit a few balls for 9 holes, you don't have to do the whole gamut. Talking about Chiang Mai for a minute, we've got members booked on our pre-tour to Chiang Mai before the first week, as well as before the second week. Chiang Mai is a wonderful, it's really the cultural heart of Thailand. The center of the city is a square with a moat around it that is basically a mile by a mile by a mile by a mile. It's a square. And we are staying this year right in the heart, right in the center of that square, which means we are within a stone's throw of the Chedi Temple and the Luang, now I forgot the name of it, temple. There's so many incredible temples and markets that are right within walking distance of the hotel. So you're going to enjoy that. We changed up the excursions in Chiang Mai this year because I met some incredible new people that are going to do some guiding for us, and we're going to have an amazing time. I'm as excited as ever to be having you have a chance to visit and enjoy Chiang Mai. We'll visit Doi Suthep outside of town, and then our Bangkok pre-tour will obviously take in some of the highlights of the city, and we're going to be staying here right on the river on the Chao Phraya, which is obviously an important waterway for Bangkok. And we're going to do some great touring around that takes in the Grand Palace and Wat Po, which are two of the main sites, again, on the river in Bangkok. We're also going to visit here's a picture of the Grand Palace. Here it's important for Grand Palace and visiting the Emerald Buddha. The clothing requirements are, and we'll remind you again when you arrive, that you are dressed appropriately. So you need to cover knees and shoulders. That's really important, particularly in the Grand Palace. They have a zero tolerance for not being dressed properly. We'll also visit the Mai Klong Railway Market, which is a whole hoot because you see as the train passes through and they're lifting everything up and going crazy. And the floating market at Dam Non Sudak as well. So some great things on the agenda for our pre-trips as well. And it's time to take some questions. So if you have not got your question answered already, then please do type it into the chat box. And I'm just going to take a look now to see if there's any other questions. I think we've got most of the questions.
There's a question about, is there a host for Chiang Mai?
There is, yes. So there was not supposed to be a host for Chiang Mai, but there will now be a host for Chiang Mai. We've just made some last minute shifting around. So for those coming on the first Chiang Mai trip, I will be meeting you in Chiang Mai. So I'll be looking after you. So I'm looking forward to that. It's a little bit of a surprise because, as I say, we had not planned to have a host for that, but I will be there for Chiang Mai and Bangkok. And for the second group, Actually, our director of operations, Elsa, will be hosting the group. She's not going to be there on the same arrival date because of her flight connection. So she's going to be there the following day to meet you and take in Chiang Mai with you. So you will have a host and you will be looked after because we have some great guides up there as well. So
yeah.
I see a question here. Harriet asked about Bangkok and Chiang Mai. Do they have Uber or Lyft? Not Lyft. They do have Uber. And over here, actually, though, predominantly it's called Grab, Grab. So that's the only one I use now in Thailand. So if you are thinking that you're going to sort of venture out in Bangkok or Chiang Mai, I would highly recommend downloading the app Grab. It works exactly the same as Uber, except it has 4,000 other functions. But in terms of getting a cab, that is the best one to use. Uber used to be around in Bangkok, but I must admit I haven't used it in years, and they've gone out of a lot of cities, so I don't know if it currently works or not.
Grab, as if you get it set up before you leave the country, it's also easier if you do it in Canada. Grab has you input your credit card, and there's sometimes some security stuff to get that set up. So you're smart to set up Grab, get your credit card uploaded, have it confirmed, and then go and use Grab when you're
worry about paying for anything, and it's definitely the way to go, because if you've ever tried to tell a Bangkok taxi driver where you want to go, good luck. That's an adventure.
There's one thing that I realized we didn't mention, Gordon. So we do recommend that everybody pack water bottles and bring a reusable water bottle.
I will be bringing water bottles out for this trip.
Oh, are you? Oh, I thought we didn't have any left.
No, for Thailand we do, because we didn't have the customs issues. So we got a whole bunch of beautiful branded water bottles. I don't have one right in front of me. Anyway, we ordered a whole bunch of them for some of our trips, but customs blocked them in a number of different countries. Anyway, we had a nightmare. However, in Thailand we have plenty. So everybody will get
everybody gets one.
Wheel and Anchor water bottle. It's actually thermal in the sense that when you put cold water in the morning, it's still cold in the afternoon, even all day at the beach. So they're great. And we will supply those to you. Not for the pre-tour. We'll see if I can get them up to Bangkok in time for the pre-tour, but definitely in Samui, because I have them all here in my storage room. So they're ready to go.
Perfect.
Great. And
where do you get the water? Is the question.
The hotel
in the hotel.
Yeah, the hotel will provide in the rooms water bottles with drinking water that you can fill up, and it's readily available around the hotel. So they'll show you on the orientation. We'll make sure that there's water in the excursions as well. You'll always have access to water, so don't worry about that. No problem. But you can't drink the water from the tap in Thailand. We'll remind you of that when you arrive. But yeah, some people do. I don't recommend it. It's I
don't even recommend brushing your teeth with the water out of the tap. The truth is, you can get traveler's stomach issues from anything. So if you don't wash your hands enough, if you don't, like, who knows, touching handrails, don't brush your teeth with the water. You're just asking for trouble, and nobody needs that. So use bottled water to brush your teeth as well.
Yeah, exactly. But more of those details when we get to Thailand. Are there any more questions? Last chance. And of course, not the last chance, because if you have a question later on, you can always drop a note to Paula or Barb, that whoever signed you up for the trip, they'll be more than happy to answer the question or pass it on to one of us if they don't have the answer. If you do not do online banking, how does that work with the Wise card? Do they mail you a card? Yes. So with the Wise card, when you apply for it, you will get a digital card immediately that you can put onto your Apple Wallet, just as like you might, or your Android or your Google Wallet or whatever, if you use an Android phone. If you're not familiar with that, again, you might want to get a younger generation member of the family to assist you with it. But you literally on your wallet, you can keep your cards from home, you can keep your Wise card, you can keep whatever credit card on your phone and use it to tap, and it's boom. They will send you a physical card as well. That does take a couple of weeks. I never even use it. I don't even know where mine is. I only use the digital card. So that's the way to do it.
And when you sign up for it, they'll say it will be X number of weeks for the card to come to you. And for some people, you'll be like, oh, I'm leaving before that time. Still apply for the card. Usually it arrives like in a couple of days, like way before that time. So it's worth still ordering the card. Wise then works as an app on your phone, which is also super handy because I know I have trouble when I travel with some of my credit cards wanting to text me, notifications to confirm if I'm trying to do an online purchase or I'm trying to do something. They'll say, well, we're going to text you an authorization code. But because I've changed my SIM card, the text message won't come through. With Wise, if you're doing an online transaction or something like that, it goes to your phone and your app. So you can actually use it quite seamlessly and quite easily with a lot of security.
Precisely.
Yeah.
One more question I see here from Paul asking about if there's hair dryers in hotels. Absolutely. The hotels definitely have hair dryers in them. They are typically already in the room. But for example, in Chiang Mai, in that hotel, they may not have it. They have it in the room or not. I don't recall off the top of my head. But they definitely have them. So worst case is you ask at reception and they'll give you one. But I'm pretty sure they're in all the rooms already. So these hotels have all of the amenities that you can expect. Obviously all the little soaps and all the rest of it. Yeah, they're first class hotels. So
Yeah.
will your Spotify okay, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to read you the question. I didn't know you saw it.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see the question here. Yeah, about Spotify and Netflix. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you can use Spotify, Netflix. I use them here, no problem. No problem at all. Just make sure you take your passwords for stuff. This is always a good point. We always run into this one, right, Amber? So, take your Google password for your Gmail account, take your Spotify password, your whatever passwords you have. I don't know. I have all mine in a password keeper on the phone. Do take your passwords with you because in case you get logged out or whatever, you're in a different country. This is what I always happen. You're in a different country and then the IP address isn't recognized and then all of a sudden, boom, you're logged out. And then you're like, oh, I don't know what my password is. Well, we can't help you there. So take passwords. Anyway, a little IT advice for everybody. Okay, good. I think we've answered all the questions. But again, as I said, if you do have more, please drop us a note. We're delighted to see you in Thailand. For those of you going to Chiang Mai, I look forward to greeting you myself there. We're going to have a blast. Amber will be seeing you in Koh Samui. I'll be doing the handoff in Koh Samui and then jetting over here. And then for those of you that are coming on the Koh Phangan Wellness and Yoga program, which was a separate webinar, I'll see you there because I'm hosting that one too. So take care, everybody. Have yourselves a lovely rest of the day. And you can start dreaming about the warm weather in Thailand because I've been sweating all day. So you got to go. Take care. Have yourselves a great rest of the day. Bye for now.